Let's watch Donald Trump on NPR.
About another piece of news here. South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds, as I think you know, was on ABC over the weekend. He spoke about the 2020 election and also referred to the election campaign that is now starting in 2022. Let's listen.
We simply did not win the election as Republicans for the presidency.
Wait, why don't they have the intro? The intro's pretty funny too. Where he's like, he calls him up and he's like, all right, Mr. President, we've been calling you since 2015 to come on. Finally, maybe you don't even know this, but finally, this is the first time that you're on. And then Trump is like, well, it's probably a good thing I didn't until this moment, huh? Very good thing I didn't go on NPR, believe me. Fucking owned.
And if we simply look back and tell our people,
I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw like the intro. I didn't see like him cutting it off and shit.
Because there's cheating going on, then we're going to put ourselves in a huge disadvantage.
A couple of things to ask about there, Mr. President. Let's start with the politics. Is it a disadvantage for Republicans to keep talking about the 2020 election in 2022?
No, I think it's an advantage because otherwise they're going to do it again in 22 and 24. And Rounds is wrong on that, totally wrong. If you look at the numbers, if you look at the findings in Arizona, if you look at what's going on in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, by the way, and take a look at Wisconsin, they're finding things that nobody thought possible. This was a corrupt election.
I just have to point out Doug Logan, to name one of the states that you just named. Doug Logan, who ran the audit in Arizona that was set up by your allies, didn't find serious problems. This is a quote: the ballots that were provided to us to count in the Coliseum very accurately correlate with the official canvass numbers. He raised a bunch of administrative issues, but didn't find a problem that would have changed the result at all.
The ballots may correspond, but look at the ballots themselves. The number of ballots doesn't mean anything. It's who signed the ballots, where did the ballots come from. What you really have to do in that report is look at the findings. And the findings are devastating for Arizona.
Yeah, devastating. Bro, it's awesome. It's awesome. There is no amount of like physical proof in the eyes of Trump and his supporters that will actually conclusively show that they are still, they're pursuing just something that is completely untrue. There is no amount of evidence. And they've done it. They've done it over and over again. And ultimately, what fucking happens? What happens? When findings come out that completely contradict what Donald Trump has been saying, obviously, he just still turns around and says, it's still untrue. The ballots actually, many people are saying this, but the poll watchers, they were kissing all the ballots that had votes for Joe Biden. And that's how they knew, believe me.
They're devastating like nobody's seen before.
Why did
states are just as bad.
Why did Republican officials in Arizona accept the results then?
Because come on, Steve. Come on. You know why. Because they're corrupt. Because they're crooks. They're in the pocket of big Democrats, believe me. Duh.
Because they're rhinos, and frankly, a lot of people are questioning that.
Yes!
Why would they? They fought very hard, the Maricopa County people, and people don't understand it because all you have to do is look at the findings. And just so you know, some of those people went before Congress a short while ago, and they were grilled by...
No, I didn't pre-watch this part. I didn't actually pre-watch this part.
Congressman...
But also, I've pre-watched everything Donald Trump has ever said because I am Donald Trump's #1 stan. What the fuck do you mean? I know exactly what's going to come out of his mouth before he even thinks it. Okay?
You ought to take a look at their testimony. They weren't able to answer anything. He made them look like fools. They couldn't answer a thing. They got up and gave a beautiful statement, and then when it came time to ask why this, why that, what about these votes, what about those votes, they looked like total fools.
Let me read you some short quotes. The first is by one of the judges, one of the 10 judges you appointed who ruled on this, and there were many judges, but 10 who you appointed. Brett Ludwig, U.S. District Court in Wisconsin, who was nominated by you in 2020. He's on the bench, and he says, quote, this court allowed the plaintiff the chance to make his case, and he has lost on the merits. Another quote, Corey Langhofer, your own campaign attorney in Arizona.
They're also fake.
November 12th.
They're also fake. Also, they've been infected. They got vaccinated. Now they're homosexual Marxists, okay? It doesn't matter. There is not a person, like Donald Trump's own fucking... Wait, why'd you add Ludwig? Is he in here? There is not a thing that, like, will ever... Like, Donald Trump is so good at just fucking straight up being like, I don't care, they're wrong. Oh, he is actually pro-vaccine, I forget. That's true. He is actually pro-vaccine. but he'll fucking say some shit. Like, he'll be like, they've been infected by the rhino disease.
2020, quote, "We are not alleging fraud in this lawsuit. We are not alleging..."
I join any harassing Ludwig all the time. Dude, this is the harassing Ludwig broadcast, brother. What are you talking about?
Stealing the election. And also Rudy Giuliani, your lawyer, November 18, 2020 in Pennsylvania, quote, "This is not a fraud case. Your own lawyers had no evidence of fraud. They said in court they had no evidence of fraud, and the judges ruled against you every time on the merits."
It was too early to ask for fraud and to talk about fraud. Rudy said that because of the fact it was very early, because that was obviously at a that was a long time ago. The things that have found out have more than bore out what people thought and what people felt and what people found. When you look at Langhofer, I disagree with him as an attorney. I did not think he was a good attorney to hire. I don't know what his game is, but I will just say this. This is the only game in town. The Trump game, baby. Dude, he is so back. He is so fucking back. As long as he doesn't do the, like... I wonder how long it's going to take for him to just, like, totally reverse his position on vaccines. Because he's, like, promoting vaccines a little too much. Like, if I was in his team right now, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Play the hits, dumbass. But it doesn't matter how many people die. We're still going to make you win. We're playing... a very different game here. We're not playing a game where like the side that has more fucking voters wins. We're playing a game where like it doesn't matter how little Republicans vote. We'll still figure out a way to fucking, stretch that. But he has to take credit for the vaccines. Like, he can't stop pumping up the vaccines because he's the savior of mankind. He built the vaccines personally with his hands, with his blood, sweat, and tears, and he has to get credit for it. And that is actually hurting him, or hurting his 2024 chances. If you want to win, Trump, you got to cut it out with this fucking pro-vaccine shit. The findings, you look at the number of votes, go into Detroit, and just ask yourself, is it true that there are more votes than there are voters? Look at Pennsylvania, look at Philadelphia. Is it true that there were far more votes than there were voters?
It is not true that there were far.
That's a pretty tough problem.
It is not true that there were far more votes than voters. There was an early count. I've noticed you've talked about
the vax thing is his only weak point to his base, and the only thing he's actually right about. Yeah, 100%. That's the irony, is that like the only fucking thing that Donald Trump is actually doing right is because of his like narcissistic tendency to take credit for something that's like outside of his scope of comprehension or outside of his power completely. Even though like his administration was the one that like, participated in the accelerated, creation of these fucking vaccines. And he is totally right to tell people to take the vaccine, but that is the actual fucking reason why that might actually end up cucking him. He also wanted to ban TikTok. Yeah, you're right. That was pretty fucking cool.
About this in rallies, and you've said reportedly this is true. I think even you know that was an early report that was corrected later.
Well, you take a look at it. You take a look at Detroit. In fact, they even had a hard time getting people to sign off on it because it was so out of balance. They called it out of balance. So you take a look at it. You know the real truth, Steve. And this election was a rigged election.
Why is it that you think that the vast majority of your allies in the United States Senate are not standing?
Dude, Stephen Inskeep has just butter voice, dude. He straight up has a voice built for radio. It's just like so weird to see a face to the voice that I listen to every morning. Oh, why is it that? No. It's kind of interesting to see.
Standing behind you. We did have that statement by Mike Rounds.
Because Mitch McConnell is a loser, and frankly, Mitch McConnell...
Yes!
Another month.
Because Mitch McConnell is a loser. Believe me, he's also a rhino. Anyone and everyone is a rhino. They're all bad, believe me. Only I'm good, and the few people that are still on my side.
McConnell, if he were on the other side, and if Schumer were put in his position...
The funniest part about this, by the way, of course, is that, like, every single Republican greatly benefits from him consistently spreading conspiracy theories. So I'll just say it like this. Republicans are rhinos. They're fucking fake friends because Republicans themselves constantly spread misinformation about voter fraud. Okay. It's a part of the Republican strategy. And now they get to sit back and allow Trump to take all the fucking heat while they straight up benefit from it because they're already advocating for voter suppression measures regardless. And those voter suppression measures and the justification for those voter suppression measures hinges on the lie that voter fraud is happening and it's rampant and it's mass and it's widespread. So They're fucking assholes. Straight up. I mean, Trump is an asshole too, obviously, but like they literally are absolutely benefiting from this. And by the way, believe me, trust, the moment that Donald Trump, the moment that the midterms start, the midterms like news cycle starts, which is starting right now, and the moment that Donald Trump is more prominent and more in the news, every Republican is going to literally suck his cock. They are going to unbuckle his belt and they are going to unzip his zipper and suck his cock on fucking television non-fucking stop, because he is still one of the, if not the most popular Republican politician in the nation. The base loves him, especially if he's more prominent in the media. He's in front of the base's eyes. So that is precisely what's going to happen. All these people that are like, yeah, oh, Donald Trump, like, he's wrong. Every single person that talked shit about January 6th has gone back on it. Nearly every single person. They are going to pull a Ted Cruz on Tucker Carlson and cry and bawl and pathetically fucking beg. Okay, on their hands and motherfucking knees.
Position, he would have been fighting this like you've never seen before. He would have been fighting this because when you look at it, and this is a long way from over. You take a look at what's going on now in Pennsylvania. Take a look at what's going on in Wisconsin. You just take a look. Now, we had a lot of cases where the judges wouldn't hear them. We had a case in Nevada that was so good. When you read the papers, it's impossible. The judge refused to even listen to it. We had many cases. In fact, they say, and I can't testify because it's been through a lot of systems, a lot of different systems, but
I think you're wrong when you say Trump has to be against vaccines to win in 2024. It's not like the anti-vax people will vote Democrat in the next election. No, my friend, but anti-vaxxers are a pretty solid part of the Republican voter base. And they are really aggressive. They're like, you could call them single issue voters almost. So Donald Trump saying that he's like pro-vaccine to a group of individuals who unironically believe that the vaccines are fucking murdering people, then that level of cognitive dissonance won't work, because part of the reason why they love Donald Trump, or part of the reason why they love the Republican Party, is because they themselves operate like anti-vaxxers. Okay? Anti-vaxxers are like the evangelicals who are single-issue anti-abortion nuts, okay? Or they're like gun nuts. That's all they fucking care about. That's all they live and die by. So much so that there are even people that I've seen in my fucking DMs on Instagram and shit that are like leftists or that were fans of mine that have slowly but surely radicalized away because of how anti-vax they are, and now think I'm a fucking shill for Big Pharma and a fake person, a grifter.
They say, and they say very strongly, the judges just, nobody's really gotten a chance to look at the United States Supreme Court. They refused to hear the case. And you had,
they said there was no standing to give the case. That's correct.
Well,
Can I just
no
ask?
standing. I know. No standing. And the President of the United States supposedly didn't have standing either. So I wanted to file it myself. They said, sir, you don't have standing. I said, wait a minute. I'm the President of the United States. We got a number of votes that I think you'll agree no sitting president has ever gotten the number of votes that I got. No sitting president has ever gotten sitting president. Nobody believes. You think Biden got 80 million votes?
It's true.
I don't believe
it's true that you got more than any sitting president in the election you disputed.
How come he couldn't?
If I can, Mr. President.
Let me ask you this question. How come Biden couldn't attract 20 people for a crowd? How come when he went to speak in different locations, nobody came to watch, but all of a sudden he got 80?
Biden is a puppet Hasan. How can you not see it? Yeah, totally. Unlike Donald Trump, who's totally unique in everything that he did, except he literally just was a puppet for the same corporate interests as Joe Biden is, and a puppet to the Republican Party. So it does not matter. Okay, I'll tell you why he's fucking pro-vax, by the way. Like, the reason why he can't shut the fuck up about it is because he's a narcissist and he wants to take credit for the vaccines that he personally single-handedly created. But the other reason why he's pro-vaccine is because technically Republicans have two contradicting values here. They want to win elections, and they will, pump up whatever kind of like psychotic opinion is gaining prominence in their base. Anti-vaxxers are a part of that collective that they need to at least like create a group of voters that will vote Republican, right? But the other reason is corporate interest. Like, obviously corporations want all of us to get vaccinated, but you're not a fucking idiot. You're not just like anti-corporation for the sake of hating corporations. So I hope. So you understand that, like, yes, simultaneously, two things can be true. Both the corporate structure absolutely needs everyone to get fucking vaccinated so everyone can, get back to fucking work and, keep doing and not cripple society and therefore our profits. But also that mass vaccination campaigns are actually good because it helps people not go to the fucking hospital if they get COVID. So those two things are true. Those two things are the reality here. So that's part of the reason why Trump also, much like the rest of the fucking Republicans, including Rupert Murdoch, for example, want vaccines to be mass spread and that everyone should get vaccinated. Anyway, it's wild that the anti-vax movement is a split where so many think Democrats scheme to get them to not get vaccinated so the voting base will die. Although, given this admin's lack of current action, maybe the Dems are benefiting from the anti-vax deaths. No one is benefiting from the anti-vaxxers dying. No one. Hella people dying is not a benefit. And that will not be a benefit. That's not a real thing. No government actually fucking benefits from 800,000 people dying. You know what I mean? That's not a thing. You're literally losing people in your fucking workforce by the hundreds of thousands. You're losing, like, even from an economic standpoint, you're never going to benefit from that because, like, hospitals are in a state of disarray. They're not functioning. Society is collapsing right in front of your fucking eyes. You know what I mean?
6 months.
Million votes.
If you'll
Nobody
forgive me,
that.
maybe because
Nobody
the election
believes
was about you. If I can just move on to ask, are you telling Republicans in 2022 that they must press your case on the past election in order to get your endorsement? Is that an absolute?
They're going to do whatever they want to do. Whatever they have to do, they're going to do. But the ones that are smart, the ones that know, you take a look at how Carrie Lake is doing, running for governor. She's very big on this issue. She's leading by a lot. People have no idea how big this issue is, and they don't want it to happen again. It shouldn't be allowed to happen, and they don't want it to happen again. And the only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem.
Mr. President,
if I'm
one more question. I want to ask about a court hearing yesterday on January 6th. Judge Amit Mehta, he's gone.
Damn, he just yelled, bro.
Okay.
We were right.
Damn, get fucking owned, Steven. Okay? Get fucked. More like, Steven, keep this interview to yourself, brother. Yeah, that's right. Trump owned him again. What a god king, dude. He just said no and left. Do you think there will be ever another U.S. election where people don't falsely claim fraud from here on out? First of all, there has never been a U.S. election since like the 90s where someone hasn't claimed that fraud was happening. But it has increased in magnitude, frequency, yada yada, since Gore v. Bush. Gore v. Bush is like an instance where there was actual election meddling, okay? Election fraud, not voter fraud. And since then, and even before then, Republicans have always lied and yelled about election fraud, or not election fraud, voter fraud specifically, so they can justify doing voter suppression.